do is to just go through them.
Okay.
Now, you can minimize the go to meeting screen if you want. If you go up and click on the double arrows, it shrinks it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not taking up so much of your monitor space.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay. And let's just start with number 1. I honestly think that's the best way we can go.
Okay.
So can you solve for x on number 1?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's 6.
Okay. How about number 2?
Would it be G?
Very good. Number 3.
Would it be A?
Well, let's see. What is it? It's x plus 5 minus the quantity x minus 2. Remove all the parentheses first. And you get this. X's cancel, and you got 5 plus 2 equals 7. A. Very good. Okay. In other words, I don't always know these answers, so I'm glad that you're getting them quickly. Go ahead. Number 4.
Okay.
Now, these problems do go from easy to hard.
Yeah.
So your lower number ones are going to be easier. So recognize that. And that might make it easier because you don't overthink the easy ones.
Okay. I just plugged in. Oh, did you not plug in the 15 to the other B too?
It's exactly what you do. In other words, what we have here is a function. A is a function of B, and it's this function. So whatever number I plug in for B, I'm going to plug in for B there. So it's
Yeah, so I did that and I got
minus 30. What is that?
30. So I did that and I got 2.
Hold on. How'd you get
Oh,
2?
because the
You
15
divided.
times A.
You didn't subtract it.
Okay.
That's what you did. In other words, 60 divided by 30 is 2. But that's not what we have. We have 60 minus 30. It's 4b minus 30.
Oh, did you not have to do the A times B part of it? Because I did that, so I had 15A.
Let's talk about this because this is very important, okay? When you have a function, let's start with the very basic of functions. f of x is equal to x plus 1 squared. That is a function. Tell me what f of 3 is equal to.
3 plus 1 squared?
Give me an answer.
Yeah, would it be 3 plus 1 squared?
Give me an answer.
Oh, 9?
What is 3 plus 1?
4.
What's 4 squared?
16.
That's the answer. Okay, so what that means is it's just a different notation than y. You could substitute y here, but f of x is so much more powerful. It tells you that whatever's on the right side of the equation is the variable is x. It also tells you that if you want to calculate f of whatever number you want, you plug in that number for x. So you get 3 plus 1 squared, which is 14. Okay? So this problem is no different. The only difference is that it's a of b instead of f of x. Well, immediately I know that the only variable I'm seeing on the other side of the equation is b. That's it. That's what a of b means, is that I have an equation where the variable is b.
Okay.
And now, if and b represents the number of boxes sold, so they're really saying, what is a of 15?
Oh, okay. I was just thinking it was like a normal algebra expression, not the f of x thing.
Really? This really tests your ability to know what f of x notation means.
Okay.
And
I'll remember that.
it doesn't have to say f of x. It can say g of x. It can say h of x. It can say g of r. What this means is that I have a function, and the variable on the other side is going to be b. That's all that it means. If this was a of x, then that variable would be x.
Okay.
And when you say, well, what is a of 15? Is all it means is you substitute the number 15 for whatever the variable is. You get 60 minus 30, which is 30.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Hold on a second. All right, let's look at number 5.
Okay.
So tell me how you're going to solve it.
So is the answer C? Because what I did was I multiplied 20% times $6.60, and then I got $1.32, and then I subtracted that from the $6.60.
Okay, that is the correct answer. However, let me suggest a one-step method instead of a two-step method.
Okay.
Instead of multiplying by 20%, multiply the entire price by 80%.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
What do you get in your calculator?
528.
One step instead of two steps.
Okay.
And that's an important step to learn. In other words, there are a lot of problems like this. Let's say something goes up by 25%. If I say increase 6 by 25%, what are you going to do?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
Increase the number 6 by 25%.
So would I just multiply the 6 times 75%?
No, that's decreasing it.
Oh, so just 25?
No, by 1.25.
Oh, okay.
In other words, I could do this in two steps. I could do 6 times 0.25 and then add that to 6. Well, 6 times 0.25 is 1.5. So 6 plus 1.5 is 7.5. So that's the answer. But I did it in two steps. Why not do it in one step? You can use your calculator here. That's 7.5. And it's in one step. You see the difference between one step and two steps?
Yes.
Okay. If you're decreasing it, same thing. If something says 30% off and it costs $120, what am I going to do?
You multiply that by 0.7, the 120.
Perfect. That's what I want you to remember. Now, that doesn't seem like a big thing, but let me tell you something. If you save 15 seconds on all these problems, it's going to give you that much more time to do all of them.
Okay.
So these little incremental aids are actually important.
Okay.
Number 6. Solve that for me. Now, first of all, understand one thing. ACT gets easy to hard.
Okay.
So we've done 5 problems. We're probably beyond the easy problems. So now we're getting into the territory that's medium problems.
Okay.
First of all, solve that first equation.
So it would be 8.
Actually not.
Would not be 8?
-8.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like a insignificant difference, but it's not. It's huge.
Okay. So then b squared would equal plus or minus 9.
Okay. Now, what is A plus B? We got lots of choices here.
It would be either negative 17 or positive 17.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do. When you see an ACT question, I want you to go through and mark it up as to what the key things are. First of all, that's a key thing. That's a key thing. And that's the most important thing right there.
Uh-huh.
Which can it not be? Well, you've already shown that it can be plus 17, it can be minus 17, so those can't be the answers. Remember, what we're looking for is an answer that it cannot be.
Yeah, would it be? It would be K.
Exactly. In other words, even if it was plus 8 and plus 9, that's 17 at most. There's no way you're getting up to 145.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, number 7. The moment you look at this problem, it is what kind of problem? It is parallel lines and a transversal. Remember, I promised you would see 3 or 4 problems like this on the test. So you have got to remember your parallel lines and transversal rules. Let's just review them. You create 8 angles. How many different angles do you create?
2.
Give me an angle that's equal to 1.
4, and then 5 and 8.
All right.
Allie, can you get the door?
So, what ACT does is it tries to confuse you by putting multiple transversals on here. In other words, they've got a transversal there, and they also have a transversal there.
Right there. Okay.
What's the relationship between the acute angle and the obtuse angle?
Oh, what's the difference?
No, no, not what's the difference. What's the relationship?
Oh, they all equal 180.
Exactly. When they're added together, they equal 180. So, what's the answer for this one?
140. So D.
Huh? That's simple. Let me scroll down here. Number 8. Tell me what you're going to do. What are you writing?
I'm gonna plug in -3 for X.
Okay, tell me exactly what to write, because this is the key.
Okay, so it would be -9.
No.
No.
Plug it in first. Do not do any math. And that is
Okay.
key. If you do the math, if you try to do 2 steps at once, you're going to get it wrong.
Okay, so -3x
Hold on.
minus 6.
Hold on. You're plugging in -3 for x squared, correct?
Correct.
So am I writing this or am I writing this?
The one in parentheses.
Exactly. Notice they're different numbers. That's equal to -9. That's equal to +9. So
Okay.
the key with these kind of problems is to make sure you always put it in parentheses, particularly if it's a negative number. If it's a negative number, you absolutely have to put it in parentheses.
Okay.
So this thing becomes -3 quantity squared. What's the rest of it?
-6 with parentheses -3. And then -18.
Now, what I'm going to suggest is you always do it this way. Never, ever do any of the math in your head. In other words, just do the direct substitution and then simplify. So what's negative 3 squared?
9.
What's that?
18.
Plus or minus?
Plus.
What's the answer?
0.
What's the answer to that?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. 9.
Okay. The worst mistake you can make on the ACT is to understand the math and miss the problem.
Okay.
Because you did it too quickly. In other words, you understood exactly how to do this problem, but you came up with 0. Only because you made a silly arithmetic mistake. You want to avoid that. In other words, there's a lot of tough problems on this test. Don't miss the easy ones that you know how to do.
Okay.
What does that mean?
It means you have to take the absolute value of whatever is inside.
So what's that equal to?
13.
Well, first of all, what's 1 minus 12 equal to?
Negative 11.
And what's the absolute value of negative 11?
Oh, so it's just 11.
Okay. Again, you knew how to do it, but you were doing it too quickly. On these easy problems, and the first 20 problems are going to be easy problems, do not make simple mistakes. They are gifts. You should never miss these first 9 problems. You knew how to do all of them. And yet you made a simple mistake on half of them, which would have caused you to miss them. It's one thing if you make a simple mistake on a hard problem. It's a totally different story if you make it on an easy problem. Don't make it on easy problems. All right, so number 10 says AB equals C and C equals KB. And then whenever you see something like that, you can almost ignore it. Seriously, you can. How would I solve this system of equations?
Would you just set it equal to each other?
Tell me what to write.
So would it be AB equals KB?
Perfect. Now what?
You divide, well, could you cancel out the B's?
And yes, what you're doing is dividing both sides by B. And that's what cancels them out. So you get A equals K. What's the answer?
J.
Yeah. See, these really are easy problems. You just have to kind of know that they are.
Okay.
And know that you're going to be able to know how to do the easy problems. Your math skills are fine. Nothing wrong with your math skills. Problem with our first 2 sessions was that we were working nothing but hard problems. And the more I think about it, that's not the right strategy to do.
Okay.
Made sense that it was, but it really isn't. I want to make sure you can do all the easy and the medium problems. Because if you can do all the easy and the medium, you are going to get a great score on the test.
Okay.
As simple as that. What's number 11?
Okay, so do you do 13 times 3? So 39. So would it just be x to the 39?
That's it.
Or? Okay.
That's it. Hold on a second before we go on, only because there was some hesitation there. This is one of the most important rules you can have. Or that you can know for the ACT. What's that equal to?
X to the third.
That's A and B.
Oh, is that a multiplication? I thought that was subtraction.
No, I drew it a little poorly. I apologize.
Okay, so would it be x to the 15th?
This right here, there's no numbers there. That's x to the A times x to the B.
Oh, I was thinking that was a 9 and a 6.
No, I apologize.
I'm sorry.
Like I said, no.
So would it just be x to the A, B?
No, it's A plus B.
Oh.
Remember that you never do to the exponents what you're doing to the base. I am multiplying the base.
So you add the exponents, and then if you're dividing the base.
Exactly.
And then if you're dividing the base, then you subtract the exponents.
Tell me what that is.
X to the A minus B.
Finally, tell me what this is.
X to the A, B.
Those are the only 3 rules you need to memorize. Seriously, that will get you every question right if you know these 3 rules. And the one consistent thing about these 3 rules is that you are never doing to the exponents what you are doing to the base. I am multiplying the base, I'm only adding the exponents. I'm dividing the base, I'm only subtracting the exponents. I am exponentiating the base, therefore I'm multiplying the exponents. Remember, you're never doing, if you find yourself doing the same thing to the exponents as you are the base, you're making a mistake.
Okay.
Number 12.
Is it 14? So H.
First of all, there are 3 ways to solve any ACT math problem. There's the algebraic way. There is back solving. And there is picking numbers. Well, the algebraic way presents some problems, and I'll tell you why. If I try to solve that algebraically by cross-multiplying, I get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that I don't know if x is positive or negative. If x is positive, that's true. But if x is a negative number, I got to switch the sign. So the answer would really be this if x was negative. So you got to be very careful when you're dealing with variables and inequalities, because you don't know if the variable is positive or negative, and it makes a big difference. You have to switch the sign of the inequality if it's a negative, if you're multiplying or dividing by it, okay? So this is not easy to solve algebraically. It's very difficult. And you should be aware that we're on number 12, so we're no longer going to be in easy problems. So let me suggest the technique that Sycamore Learning uses. Choose the middle value. No, excuse me. This is a little different. It says, what is the largest possible value for x? Well, we're going to back solve this. Okay? That means we're going to start with the answers. We're going to start with the largest possible x, and then we're going to work our way down until we find one that doesn't work. Does 28 work? Is this greater than or equal to 1/7?
No.
Okay, that's not right. Let's go to the next one. Is this greater than or equal to 1/7?
No.
Go to the next largest one. Is this greater than or equal to 1/7?
No. I thought it was, but it's not, right?
What's 2/14 equal to?
1/7.
Well, 1/7 is greater than or equal to 1/7. This part right here makes it equal.
Yeah.
So that is the answer. That is the largest possible value for x.
Oh, so 14 was right. I just can't solve it algebraically.
Well, it's very difficult to solve algebraically, because how do you solve that? In other words, you don't know if x is positive or negative. And
Okay.
if you don't know if x is positive or negative, it's very difficult to solve algebraically. So the best way to solve it is back solving it.
Okay.
Remember when you took the ACT seminar and they told you to start with the middle?
Mm-hmm.
That's back solving. Only you shouldn't always start from the middle. What you should start with depends on what the question says. What's the largest possible value for x? Well, I don't want to start with the middle. That won't tell me anything. That might work, but it won't tell me if J or K is possibly correct. So if I am starting with the largest, then I'm going to start with that. That did not work. Started with the next largest. That did not work. The moment I found one that worked, well, that has to be the largest, right? That's larger than 7. It's larger than 1/2.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. So that has to be the answer. So it's why I really prefer to call these back solving problems rather than start in the middle, which is what Sycamore Learning calls them. You don't always start in the middle. It kind of depends on the question. That says largest. So I'm starting with largest. If they'd said smallest, I'd have started with F.
Okay.
Okay? All right, number 13. Sometimes ACT can get very tricky. What should I do here? Draw a diagram.
Okay.
There's the circle. The circumference is equal to 46 pi. What's the general formula for circumference?
C equals 2 pi r.
Okay, good. Very good. You need to know that. You need to know all your general formulas. And it's divided into 12 sectors. There's 12 sectors. What's the total measure in degrees of 5 of the sectors? Well, first of all, what's the total measure of all 12 sectors in degrees?
360.
So what's the total measure of 5 of those? Well, let me ask you specifically, what's the total measure of each sector?
30.
What's the total measure of 5 of those sectors?
150.
There's your answer.
Oh, okay.
Now, notice something else. All this other stuff was BS. We did not need to know the circumference. We did not need to know that. That had nothing to do with the answer. And that's important because it tells you that just because they put some numbers into the question doesn't mean they are relevant. The fact that the circumference is 46 pi, it could be 460 pi. It could be 46 million pi. It would not change the answer. In other words, it is a number that is meant to confuse you.
Okay.
So don't assume that every number you see in a question is meaningful. What's meaningful here is to know that a circle divides into 360 degrees, and that if you took 12 sectors, you would have 30 degrees per sector, and now you have 5 sectors. So that's 150 degrees. This is a very easy problem. The only thing that makes it complicated is this misinformation. I shouldn't call it misinformation because it's not incorrect. It's just not important. It's not significant to our answer. And that's important to know. Always know that not every number you see in a problem is going to be relevant. All right, number 14. Now let me just make a comment about number 14. That is 7 sentences long. Is that an easy problem or a hard problem?
Probably medium, right? Because it's like in the middle.
Trust me, it's easy. The more sentences there are, the easier it is. The problem is. The hard problems are the short problems, not the ones that have lots of sentences in them.
Okay.
And it's been a year since I've done this problem, so I don't even know it's easy. I'm just telling you that because there's 7 sentences.
Okay.
Okay? So, how am I going to solve this?
Don't you just add up the total for each day and then divide by 5?
Perfect. I don't even care what the answer is, the fact you knew how to do it. Notice irrelevant information. Who cares whether it was at 7:30 a.m. or not? They're asking you about an average of those 5 numbers. Averages means totals. You add them up and you divide by the number that there are.
Okay.
Okay. Number 15.
Is it A or E? Probably A. Wait. A?
A is correct by a lot. Okay. Notice what happens with E. If I subtract X
Oh,
both sides, I get minus 6 equals 3. Well, that can never be true. So that can never be a correct answer, ever.
okay.
You can never have one number equal to another number.
Okay.
Whereas this, let's just talk about that for a moment. There's a property in algebra that is probably the most important property of all of algebra. And that says is if I have 2 numbers multiplied together and they are equal to 0, one of those numbers has to be 0. In fact, the way I'm going to solve it is I'm going to say A equals 0 and B equals 0. So if I look at answer A, which says x minus 6 times x plus 3 equals 0, I know that has to be 0 and that has to be 0. Well, if I set x minus 6 equal to 0, I get x equals 6. And if I set x plus 3 equals 0, I get x equal minus 3.
Okay.
And that's what it says. Is all this problem does is does it backwards. As you no doubt know by now that anything you have to be able to do in mathematics, you got to be able to do in reverse also. Every single mathematical principle, they force you to do it forwards and backwards. In other words, they're going to start with this. They're going to say, I got 2 things multiplied together equals 0. Therefore, I set that equal to 0. I set that equals 0. That gives me these 2 solutions. Is all this problem is doing is giving you the solutions first and then asking you what's the equation. That's the only difference. Okay? It's an easy problem, but because they do it in reverse, it's a little bit of a harder problem. And that truly is really the only difference between hard problems and easy problems on the ACT, is that the easy problems generally ask you to do an extra step or do it in reverse or whatever. But it's the same exact algebra principles. It's just a little bit more complicated. Okay, now 16, these should be getting a little bit harder, but don't get, as you can see from 16, not going to be that hard. Simplify that. Forget that. That's not important. Just simplify what I've circled.
Okay. So, it'd be negative 2x.
Hold on. What happened to the 7?
Wait, but don't I need to do the parentheses first?
Okay. Yeah, I won't argue with that. But don't drop the 7.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just
Now do the
assuming.
parentheses. Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be negative 2x plus 20.
Now simplify.
So 27 minus 2x.
And now which answer is the same as that?
H.
Good. Notice they will not always give you the answer in the form that you get it when you solve it. Another really good thing to be aware of. Okay, about 17.
Okay.
What's of mean?
Like,
Does it mean add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Means one of those four things. What is it?
multiply?
Okay, so we have 60% times 90 equals, oh, excuse me, hold on, that's not what we have. I misread the problem. We have 60% of x, we've already decided that of means multiply, equals 90. Well, what should I do with 60%, first of all? You can't use percents in equations. You got to convert them to decimals.
Would just be 0.6.
Time,
So then
I can use a dot so that I don't confuse it with x.
So then do you do 90 divided by 0.6?
You have your calculator?
Mm-hmm. So 150.
Uh-huh.
So what does or mean, or what are the other ones? So there's of, and then like what all?
I tell you what, I have a perfect thing to show you. Just have to figure out where to find it. I have a page from Sycamore Learning that gives you the translation between words and symbols.
Okay.
Okay, as soon as it loads up here, I can find that page and show it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, here it is. Question is that it always loads a little bit slower. Let's see, I'm looking for the math section. That's going to be, see this page?
Mm-hmm.
Notice on the left are all the words. On the right are what they translate to. If
Okay,
I
thank
say
you.
that Tom, or if I say that A equals B, then I can write the equation A equals B. If I say Tom is 5 years older than Bill, the is means equal. Tom equals Bill plus 5. So
Okay.
anytime you see the words on the left, they equal the words on, or the formula on the right. And notice the one we just did, of. Of means multiply.
Okay.
So 40% of 10 means 0.4 times 10. And if the bottom row, they're talking about unknowns, they're talking about variables. A number means a variable. How much usually means a variable. But all your variables are at the bottom. Your equals, multiply, divide, add, and subtract are what you see on the left.
Okay.
Less than means subtract. Fewer means subtract. So forth and so on. Okay? So take a picture of this, because this is actually in the SAT seminar.
Okay.
You didn't see this in the ACT. They make them a little different.
Okay.
They make them actually substantially different. If you take both seminars, you learn just about twice as much. There's very little replication. But
Oh, okay.
this is definitely worth seeing. So take a picture of this.
Okay, I did.
Okay. And
Thank you.
let's close that out. Go back to our test. So that of means multiply.
Okay.
Now, they also, in their medium or difficult problems, they're going to give you a problem like 18, which is a system of equations, but it's worded as a word problem. Now, what I think the best strategy, the best single sentence I can ever tell anybody, because everybody hates word problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
The best thing I can tell you is always start a word problem out by defining your variables. And the
Okay.
way you do that is to go to the last sentence. Always. You define your variables based on what they are asking you. So,
Okay.
what variable am I going to put in there for the cost of one drink? D.
Okay.
And I'm going to spell it out because it is important to spell it out. You'll see why in a moment. That's what they're asking for, so that's what we're going to make our variable. Well, now, if we go back and reread the problem, we got one drink and one popcorn. So we need another variable. Cost of one popcorn. Okay? Now, let's see if we can come up with an equation, because once we've spelled out our variables, the equation should come pretty easily. The price of one box of popcorn and one drink is $5.10. So what equation does that give me? There's your equal sign right there, is.
Yeah, so you do P plus D equals 510.
Also, the price of two boxes of popcorn and one drink is $8.35. What equation is that?
So 2P plus D equals 835.
Perfect. Now what you have is a system of equations. Okay? Now, I didn't write it quite properly. I should have put the P there and the D there so that everything lined up. Okay? Now, what is the best method to solve this system of equations? Is it elimination or substitution?
I would say substitution,
Whenever
probably.
you see them
Or
in standard format, elimination is always going to be the best format.
okay.
Okay? Now, the one rule you have is you can add or subtract equations.
Okay.
I'm trying to eliminate a variable. What am I going to do? Add or subtract these things?
Subtract.
Correct. And in fact, I'm going to do 2 minus 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do I get?
1.
Well, 2D minus D is 1D. P minus P is 0. There you go. There is the cost of one drink. That's exactly what they asked. So it turned out that if I use the perfect way to solve it, which definitely is elimination, I get the cost of a drink immediately.
Okay.
Now, it could have been an equation such that I would have gotten the cost of popcorn, but then it would still been pretty easy to solve, right? If I know one box of popcorn and one drink totals $5.10, so if I would have figured out the box of popcorn, I would have certainly been able to figure out the cost of one drink easily.
Mm-hmm.
You never know which variable you're going to be able to solve for when you solve by elimination, because you
Okay.
kind of do it based on the equations. But
So,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. So for elimination, don't you have to like make one of the variables like cancel out? So like
Well,
multiply like the top line by a negative. So instead of doing that, did you just say that you were gonna subtract it?
exactly. Exactly. In other words, most people are far more comfortable with positive numbers and addition rather than subtracting. So here's what most people would have done. They would have taken equation number 1, they would have multiplied both sides by -1,
Uh-huh.
giving you this. Now they would have added 1 to 2. Because when you add a plus p to a minus p, that eliminates p. But
Okay.
now when you add those, you get d. When you add these, you get 325. So you get the same answer. And I'm not sure we actually made it any easier. We actually made it kind of harder, didn't we? I mean, we had
Yeah.
to multiply equation number 1 by a minus sign, which made all 3 terms minus. And then we had to add the 2 equations. So why not just subtract the 2 equations to begin with?
Okay.
And that's the only 2 things you're allowed to do, is add or subtract. You can't multiply.
Okay.
You can add any 2 equations. In other words, if I say that a plus b equals c, and also x plus y equals z, I can add those 2 equations all day long. A plus b plus x plus y equals c plus z. That is legitimate mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
I can also subtract them. I could say a minus x plus b minus y equals c minus z. So I can add or subtract. What I cannot do is multiply, square roots, square both. The only thing I can do is add or subtract any 2 equations.
Okay.
Okay? That's a good place to stop. I actually think this is far more useful than going over the problems you missed. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was useful.
Yeah, I think you learn a little bit more by doing this. And we've
Yeah,
gone
for sure.
through 19 problems. We're well into the medium difficulty problems. So it's not like we're doing all easy problems.
Okay.
Okay? So, before I let you go, let me just check our next session. Looks like next week. Wednesday at Highlands Ranch at 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did your mother figure out how to open a PayPal account, or is she just going to pay a check?
Yeah. Um, I'm not sure. She said that she emailed you and you didn't respond, so she didn't know.
Well, I did not get an email from her. Your mother's name is Kelly?
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure. It doesn't look like there's any email here that pertains to payment. But is all she needs to do. Does she have a PayPal account?
I'm not sure. But if she doesn't, then I'll just bring you the checks
Bring
on
a
Wednesday.
check. That's very easy, but it's actually almost easier to pay by PayPal if she has a PayPal account. If she doesn't, it's a little harder. But okay. So
I'll let her know.
I will see you at the library.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Huh?